So, Long Beach. That was a pretty good race. And Palou's an Indycar champion. So, as weird as that still sounds to say, even though that's been the most likely thing for quite a while, let's go ahead and debrief on kind of what happened in the race yesterday. So first up, I want to address why I've been gone for so long. Basically, I'm in school, obviously, since, do I look like I've... Yeah, no, anyways, I'm still in school, so I have that stuff to do, and I'm also in sports, and basically I've not had any time, like, the past 3 weeks or whatever, to make a video about races or whatever, and I just haven't gotten a chance to do that. And, yeah, basically, finally got a chance to get a video in today, so yeah, thought I'd do that, especially since it's the championship race. It's the type of thing I wanted to do at least a bit of a debrief on. Anyways, let's go ahead and start talking about the race itself. So, right off the start, I guess, well, later in lap 1, we had quite a bit of drama as it pertains to the championship. If you didn't know, the championship coming into this race basically looked like this. So you had Alex Palou leading the championship, and at the start of the weekend, if he finished, I think it was 11th or better, he won the championship automatically. Like, just the way the points worked out, I think, yeah, 11th, or it was either 11th or 12th or better, he won the championship. Award would have had to win and get, like, he would have, yeah, Palou would have had to finish 12th or something. And then for Newgarden, the only other guy who had a really slim chance of actually winning the championship, he would have had to win the race, win the pole, which he did, max possible points throughout the entire weekend, and Palou finished 24th. So, that's the situation. Let's go ahead and get into what actually happened in the race itself. So starting off at the end of lap 1, you already had championship drama. So, coming into the hairpin right at the end of the lap, Pato O'Ward is just minding his business, going through the hairpin behind Simon Pagenaud, and behind O'Ward is James Hinchcliffe and then Ed Jones. Ed Jones decides he is going to have the dive bomb of time, and basically goes straight underneath Hinchcliffe, and it looked like he was going to make the move work. The problem is Pato O'Ward was right there. It didn't work because Pato O'Ward was right there. Instead, he used Pato as basically a brake to get through the corner quick enough, or get through the corner slow enough to actually make the corner and not hit the wall. And that basically yeeted Pato, and at the time, he didn't have any major damage, but around, I think it was lap 18 or something, Pato ended up breaking his right rear drive shaft due to that, basically. Getting hit there, that messed something up that probably over time fell apart, and the car ended up breaking. Now, even before that, the fact that he had spun put him right at the end of the field, and it was very unlikely that he was going to be able to get all the way back up to the front and win the race like he would have needed, let alone Palou falling back. So it was very unlikely that O'Ward was going to win the championship in general, especially after getting punted, and then he retired from the race. So, yeah, it really sucks that Pato O'Ward goes out that way, because 2 races ago, Pato was leading the championship. Only after Portland did Palou actually retake the lead, after he'd won that race. What? Yep. Yeah, after Portland. Okay. I was trying to give myself a bit of a mental refresher as to when Palou took the lead. Yeah, it was after Portland. So basically, after that, it was going to be, as long as Palou finished the race, he was going to be fine. And nothing ended up happening. Newgarden, who was the only other guy that had a chance, was near the front, to his credit, but was second to Colton Herta, basically the whole race. The There was some tire strategy in there. There was a time where Herta had gotten out in front of everyone on reds, and then when everyone else was on blacks, and then when it was the opposite of that, the next pit cycle, Herta was still able to pull away on the harder tire compound, and of course by the end of the stint that meant he was just gone. And after a couple of yellows thrown in there that looked like they might shake up the strategy a bit, but it really ended up just making it a bit more confusing when you had guys like Elio staying out for 3 yellow flag cycles when they literally had like 2 laps of fuel left, and they ended up having to, I think they ended up pitting under green when there was someone that crashed and didn't get a yellow called for them. I forget who exactly that was. I think it was someone, Callum in the Juncos car had spun and stalled, and those guys had come in assuming a yellow was going to come out, and it didn't. So, yeah. Speaking of Elio, he actually had quite a good weekend, at least before the actual, let's just say before Sunday. So Saturday he was actually in the Fast Six in third, which for Elio on a track that is not Indianapolis, the Oval, is pretty good, especially saying as this is only his 6th race of the year. He only did 6 races this year, and it's the first time since 2017 that he's actually done something other than the races at Indianapolis. So, this season was basically going to be a Elio getting adjusted for next season type season. So, yeah, it's pretty pretty promising when you see Elio up in P3 for qualifying. At least, just it's promising to see Elio doing well when next year he's obviously got a full-time contract. So, I mean, there's an outside threat. He could run for the championship. I don't think that's likely, but it could happen, you know. Yeah, anyways. So, as the race progressed, basically, Newgarden was behind Herta and was constantly trying to pass him, but never actually succeeded in that. And behind them was Dixon and Palou, and it stayed that way pretty much the whole race. And that's kind of how it finished. So you had Colton Herta winning the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Joseph Newgarden second and misses out on his 3rd IndyCar title. But as just a little added bonus, he is second in the championship. He passed O'Ward because of the drive shaft failure. They ended up getting Pato back out a little later in the race, but it didn't end up really mattering any. He didn't pass anyone and still ended up 3rd. But he didn't end up 4th or 5th, which is also another thing that could have happened if some other guys had better days, like Dixon or something. If Dixon won, he would have Pato would have been 4th, which that would have been terrible if he went from 2nd with an outside chance at winning the championship to getting taken out and being 4th. At least he was only 3rd. I'd still say he deserved 2nd, but honestly, a good job from Newgarden to come back right near the end of the season and finish 2nd. I mean, especially at the beginning of the year. I mean, his year started off really bad with Barber, where he had gotten taken out on lap 1, and that really defined the first half of his season. Not specifically getting in a bunch of wrecks or whatever, but just not performing very well. And then at the end of the year, he just, all of a sudden, he's 4th or 5th, and, all of a sudden he's 3rd, and, it was interesting to see Newgarden kind of climb up the ladder and try to catch Palou right at the end of the year, which, if you think about it, was kind of similar to what he did last year with Dixon. And again, he fell just a little bit short in the last race. So, yeah, that means Alex Palou is an IndyCar champion. The first time since 1999 that Ganassi had an IndyCar champion not named Dario Franchitti or Scott Dixon. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so great job for Palou in only his 2nd season in IndyCar and his 1st in a Ganassi car. It's amazing that he was able to, first of all, adapt to IndyCar that quickly and adapt to a new team. And, I mean, he won Barber. His first race with a new team, he went out and won. And that defined the rest of his season. Maybe, again, not exactly winning, but performing exceptionally well compared to what people expected from him. I think everyone saw that and was like, yeah, Palou could do good, top 5 in the championship or something would be a good goal for him. I don't think anyone in their right mind expected he was going to go out and win the championship. I think it was the usual suspects generally. Dixon, Newgarden, maybe Herta, Rossi, those kind of guys that, you expect to see in there. And yet Palou went out and did it. Now, the other thing I want to talk about with other championship battles is the Rookie of the Year battle. Now, there were two main guys that were actually competing in this. This was Romain Grosjean and Scott McLaughlin. Now, the main thing that defined this battle, if it wasn't for Romain not running the ovals, at least at the beginning of the year, which shows Indy and the Texas races, Romain would have easily won the Rookie of the Year battle, assuming he did even somewhat respectably at any of those races, really. Especially when you're talking about Indy. I mean, you could finish 20th, and that's double points. That's like 30 points or something. So that would have been more than enough that Romain needed to beat out McLaughlin. But in the final race, it was actually quite a close battle. And Scott McLaughlin had a little bit of an advantage coming into the race, and it stayed that way. And it looked like Romain was actually going to have a chance at possibly beating Scott. And then right near the end of the race, at one point, he had slid out the rear end just enough and tapped the wall, just barely tapped it. And that was enough to bend a toe link, which was interesting because I had seen in the weekend cars hitting the wall worse than that in qualifying and practices and stuff, and nothing happening. Like, I mean, Herta and Newgarden, I think, was it Newgarden? I know Herta did, and it might have been Newgarden, had both done that in practice and qualifying, and they didn't have any issues with it. So it's interesting that Romain had, he barely tapped it. There was a tire mark, but it wasn't big. I'd seen, like, literally bigger wall hits that weekend that didn't do anything in that exact same spot, basically. Yeah, so interesting that Romain's season ends that way, but he's got quite a bit to look forward to next year because I haven't covered that on this channel because, well, I mean, I haven't been able to make a video about it, but Romain Grosjean is going to Andretti next year to fill in for Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's leaving to either go somewhere else or just retire, depending on whether or not he can get a seat. And I hope Hunter-Reay gets a seat because, yeah, I think Hunter-Reay is cool. I mean, yeah, Ryan Hunter-Reay won the first Indy 500 I went to, so that was a bit of a cool thing about Hunter-Reay for me. I've always kind of rooted for Hunter-Reay, just loosely. So, yeah, I hope that Hunter-Reay can get a ride for next year. But Romain is filling in for that 28 car next year. So that'll be something really cool to look forward to. Romain in a very competitive car. You could see him doing well. Maybe championship contender, maybe not, probably not. That's probably a bit of a stretch, but it could happen. I mean, he did really well in a coin car, so yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, anyways, I've rambled on for long enough. Yeah, so Alex Palou is an IndyCar champion. And that's the end of the 2021 IndyCar season. At some point, I'll be doing some type of kind of season review video where I have a little blurb about every race and, talk about the actual championship battle itself. Because, first of all, I missed the first, 5 or 6 races of the year for videos because I just didn't really have much of a channel back then. And then I didn't have a video about Portland and Laguna, so I'll just kind of make one big 20-25 minute video about that. And that will be basically the end of my IndyCar coverage, unless there's some other big news stuff. So, with that, I'll probably be transitioning into some more F1 NASCAR videos. Speaking of F1, Sochi was really good. And that's hard to say because it's Sochi, and Sochi's never good. But it was actually good. And, yeah, the Lando thing happened as well. So, yeah, I really hope he can get a win at some point this year, because being in the back end of a 1-2 when you had easily been, I mean, let's be honest here. Norris has easily been better than Ricciardo. The championship standings reflect that, and there's no reason to say otherwise with weird nuances. Norris has been the best McLaren driver out there, and yet Ricciardo's the one with the win, and Norris very easily could have won today and it was his own fault that he didn't end up winning, because if you don't know, Norris had ended up basically telling the team he didn't want to pit for intermediate tires when it had started raining with like 4 laps to go. Thought he could make it to the end, and it started pouring. So, yeah, Norris lost his first race like that. Yeah. So, that's your little F1 blurb in an IndyCar video that I keep realizing that I've rambled on too long for. So, I'm going to go ahead and end it here before I go off on some other tangent. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll have something coming out later on. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all whenever that is. Bye.